2 a.m. She stood under his window, watching him sleep with someone else. Mark did not know she was there. Not at that exact second, but the feeling of being observed had settled over his life like a thick, suffocating blanket for weeks. He lay in bed next to Sarah, the woman he planned to marry, listening to the rhythmic hum of the ceiling fan and the soft breathing beside him. But sleep would not come. His phone sat on the nightstand, face down, a black monolith that held the source of his unraveling. It all started with a simple vibration in his pocket a month ago. A notification. Megan blocked you? No, Megan followed you. It was a Tuesday afternoon when the message came through. Hey stranger, saw you in town. You look good. Mark had frozen. He had not spoken to Megan since high school. A whirlwind teenage romance that ended when she moved away senior year. He remembered her as intense but sweet, a girl who wrote poetry and held his hand too tight. He was 24 now. He had a career in graphic design, a mortgage, and Sarah. He stared at the screen, his thumb hovering over the block button. That was the smart move. Sarah knew about Megan. She knew the breakup had been messy, filled with tearful voicemails and letters left on his windshield. But Mark was a nice guy. He prided himself on being the guy who did not hold grudges. He did not want to be cruel. He made the choice that would dismantle his life. He typed back, "Hey, hope you redoing well." It seemed harmless, polite, a closure he had not realized he needed. But the door he cracked open did not just let in a draft. It let in a storm. The replies were instant. She asked about his job, his parents, his dog. She was funny, nostalgic. Mark found himself smiling at the memories, hiding the phone when Sarah walked into the room. Not because he was cheating, but because he did not want to explain why he was talking to an ex. That secrecy was the fertilizer for the weeds growing in his mind. Within a week, the tone shifted. Megan was not just catching up. She was inserting herself. Does she make you laugh like I did? I drove by your old house. Miss us. Why did not you answer my call last night? Mark tried to pull back. He sent shorter replies, delayed his responses. He told her he was busy. He told her he was happy with Sarah. That was the wrong thing to say. The messages turned from nostalgic to manic. Paragraphs of text arrived at 3 a.m. Oscillating between professions of undying love and vitriolic accusations that he had abandoned her. He muted the notifications, hoping she would get the hint. He thought silence would extinguish the fire. Instead, it deprived the fire of oxygen, causing it to seek a new source of fuel. The escalation was physical. It started with the car. A black Nissan Altima, older model, idling at the end of his street. He saw it when he took the trash out. He saw it parked across from his office. He tried to tell himself it was a coincidence, a popular car in a small town. But tonight, the denial finally broke. A noise from the front yard snapped Mark out of his thoughts. It was the crunch of dry leaves under a heavy boot. Not a cat, not the wind, a step. His heart hammered against his ribs. He slid out of bed, careful not to wake Sarah, and crept toward the window. He peered through the slats of the blinds, his breath held tight in his chest. The street lamp cast a sickly yellow cone of light onto the sidewalk. And there she was, Megan. She was not hiding behind a tree or sitting in a car. She was standing directly in the center of his front lawn, staring up at the second-floor window. She was motionless, her hands by her sides, her face pale and expressionless in the gloom. She was not blinking. She was just waiting. Mark recoiled, gasping, his hand hitting the blinds and making them rattle. Sarah stirred in the bed. Mark? What is it? He did not answer. He looked back out. Megan had not moved. She knew he was looking. She slowly raised a hand and waved. A small, childlike wave. Then his phone on the nightstand buzzed. Once, twice. The screen lit up the dark room, casting a blue glow on Sarah's confused face. Mark grabbed the phone. A text from Megan. I can see you. Why are you hiding? Mark, who is texting you at 2 a.m? Sarah asked, sitting up, her voice laced with fear. Mark looked at the woman he loved, then at the window, then at the phone. He had tried to be polite. He had tried to handle it alone. Now the monster was on his lawn, and he had nowhere left to hide. The police officer stood in Mark's living room, looking bored. He held a notepad but had not written anything down for 5 minutes. Mark paced the kitchen, his adrenaline turning into a sour, jittery exhaustion. Sarah sat at the dining table, her arms wrapped around herself, staring at the floor. "Look, Mr. Evans," the officer said, clicking his pen. "Standing on a sidewalk is not a crime. It's public property. Unless she threatens you directly or steps onto your porch and refuses to leave, it's a civil matter. Stalking, maybe, but without a direct threat of violence, it's hard to get a judge to sign an order immediately." "She was staring at our bedroom window at 2 in the morning, Mark shouted, his voice cracking. "She texted me that she could see me. Did she say she was going to hurt you?" "No, but..." "Then block her number. Keep your doors locked. Call us if she comes back and trespasses." The officer tipped his hat and left. The heavy thud of the front door closing felt like a gavel sentencing Mark to isolation. Mark turned to Sarah. "It's going to be okay. I'll get a security system. Cameras." Sarah looked up, her eyes rimmed with red. "You lied to me, Mark." "I did not lie. I did not want to worry you. You've been talking to her for a month. I saw the logs on your phone while you were talking to the cop. You let her in. You invited this crazy person into our lives because you were too cowardly to just say, 'Leave me alone.' I was trying to be nice." "Nice gets people killed, Mark." She stood up. "I say not stay here. I feel like eyes are on me everywhere. In the shower, in the kitchen. She knows where we sleep. Sarah, please, do not go. That's what she wants." "I do not care what she wants. I care that I do not feel safe with you." Sarah packed a bag in 10 minutes. Mark stood in the driveway and watched her drive away, the taillights fading into the darkness. He was alone. The house, usually a sanctuary of warmth and shared laughter, transformed into a cavern of shadows. Every creak of the settling wood sounded like a footstep. Every rustle of the bushes outside sounded like a whisper. He went back inside and locked the door. Deadbolt. Chain. He checked the back door. Locked. He checked the windows. Locked. He was safe inside his fortress. But the silence was deafening. He sat on the couch, the television off, holding his phone. He unblocked Megan. He needed to stop this. He needed to end it. He typed, "Leave us alone. Sarah left because of you. If you come back, I will hurt you." The typing bubble appeared instantly. She had been waiting. She left? Good. She never suited you anyway. You need someone who understands you. Someone who knows your history. Mark threw the phone across the room. It bounced off the rug and hit the wall. He felt nauseous. He felt unmanned. He spent the next 3 nights sleeping on the couch with a baseball bat across his chest, waking up at every car passing by. The black Nissan did not return, but the presence remained. Small things began to feel wrong. One morning, he found the milk carton on the counter, though he was sure he put it in the fridge. Another day, the toilet seat was up. He always put it down. He told himself it was stress. Sleep deprivation was making him hallucinate. He was losing his mind. He was the architect of his own haunting, and the walls were closing in. On the 4th night of living alone, the psychological siege broke him. He was in the bathroom, brushing his teeth, when he looked into the mirror. Behind him, the shower curtain was closed. A jolt of panic hit him, movie logic. Someone was behind the curtain. He ripped it open. Nothing. Just the damp tub. He sank to the floor, head in his hands, weeping. He was a prisoner in his own home, tormented by a ghost he had summoned with a text message. Mark decided to fight back with logic. If the police would not help, he needed evidence. Hard evidence. He needed to prove she was dangerous, not just annoying. He needed to know how she knew so much. How she knew when Sarah was home, when Mark was awake, what room they were in. He took the day off work and turned his living room into a command center. He changed all his passwords. He checked his car for GPS trackers, finding nothing. He called his phone provider to change his number. While digging through a drawer looking for his SIM card ejector tool, his hand brushed against cold metal. It was his old tablet. An iPad he had not used in 6 months, not since he bought a new laptop. It was dead. He plugged it in, thinking he might have some old backups of chats or photos that could prove Megan's history of instability from years ago. The screen flickered to life with the Apple logo. Mark waited, drumming his fingers on the desk. When it booted up, it immediately connected to the Wi-Fi. A flurry of notifications cascaded down the screen. Emails, app updates, news alerts. Then, a photos notification. iCloud sync complete. 1,402 items added. Mark frowned. He had not taken photos on this device in ages. He tapped the icon. The gallery opened. His blood turned to ice water. The air left his lungs in a sharp wheeze. The most recent photos were not from 6 months ago. They were from yesterday, and the day before, and last week. The first photo was of Mark, sleeping on the couch, his mouth slightly open, the baseball bat resting on his chest. The angle was from above, looking down. Close. Intimate. He swiped. A photo of Mark in the shower, taken through the crack of the door. He swiped again, his hand shaking so violently he almost dropped the tablet. A photo of Mark and Sarah in bed 3 weeks ago. They were asleep, spooning. The camera was inches from Sarah's face. Mark gagged, bile rising in his throat. He stood up, knocking the chair over. These were not taken with a telephoto lens from the street. These were taken inside. He scrolled frantically back through the timeline. There were hundreds of them. Photos of his toothbrush. Photos of Sarah's underwear drawer, opened. Videos. Short, silent clips of him watching TV, unaware that someone was standing in the hallway behind him. How did she get in? There was no forced entry. The alarms never went off. He clicked on a video dated 2 months ago. The camera was shaky. It showed a hand, Megan's hand, recognizable by the silver thumb ring she always wore, holding a key, a brass house key. She held it up to the camera, twisted it in the light, and then unlocked his front door. The memory hit him like a physical blow. For months ago, he had lost his keys at the grocery store. He had searched everywhere, could not find them, and eventually used his spare set to make copies. He thought he had dropped them in the parking lot. She had not just found them. She had stolen them, or he had dropped them, and she had been stalking him even then, waiting for the opportunity. She was not standing under his window at 2:00 a.m. because she could not get in. She was standing there to toy with him, to make him look out, to make him afraid of the outside so he would retreat inside, into the very trap she had total access to. She had been coming in for months. While he slept, while he worked, she had eaten his food. She had watched him dream. She had probably sat in the corner of the bedroom, breathing the same air, silently mocking his ignorance. Mark looked around the empty room. The locks on the doors were useless. The enemy was not at the gate. She had the master key. The realization brought a strange, cold clarity. The panic evaporated, replaced by a primal, predatory focus. Mark did not scream. He did not run. He looked at the tablet. It was still syncing. He grabbed his phone, his new phone, the one he prayed was not compromised, and dialed 911. This time, he did not use the word stalking. He used the words burglary, breaking and entering, and intruder. I have video evidence of a person entering my home with a stolen key while I was sleeping, he told the dispatcher, his voice flat and dead. While he waited for the police, Mark did not hide. He went to the front door. He unlocked it. He unlocked the deadbolt. He opened it wide. Then he sat in the chair facing the door, the tablet on his lap, the video of the key playing on a loop. The police arrived in 10 minutes. When Mark showed them the iPad, the photos of him sleeping, the video of the entry, the officer's face went pale. The civil matter evaporated. This was a felony. This was predation. They caught her that night. She was not at her apartment. She was in her car, parked 2 streets over, scrolling through her phone. When they searched her glove box, they found the brass key. They found a notebook detailing Mark's schedule down to the minute. They found photos of Sarah with her eyes scratched out. Mark watched from his window as the cruiser lights flashed in the distance, illuminating the neighborhood he used to think was safe. He did not feel triumph. He did not feel relief. He felt dirty. The legal process was swift. The evidence was overwhelming. Megan was charged with burglary, stalking, and voyeurism. Her lawyer pleaded insanity, and given the depth of her obsession, the court mandated indefinite confinement in a psychiatric facility. The restraining order was permanent. Sarah came back a week later to collect the rest of her things. She cried when she saw Mark. She held him for a long time, but they both knew it was over. She could not look at the bed without shuddering. She could not be in the house without checking behind the doors. The violation was too deep. The us they had built was tainted by the third person who had been there all along. Mark did not sell the house. He could not explain why. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was punishment. But he changed. He installed 4 deadbolts on the front door. He put bars on the ground floor windows. He installed cameras in every room, pointing at the entrances. Every night, before he went to bed, Mark performed his ritual. He locked the top bolt. Click. He locked the second bolt. Click. He locked the third. Click. He locked the fourth. Click. Then he would check the closet. Then under the bed. Then the shower. He lay in the dark, eyes open, staring at the ceiling fan. He was safe now. Legally, physically safe. But as he drifted towards sleep, the thought always returned, sharp and clear. He had answered one text message. Just one. He had opened the door out of politeness, and it had cost him his peace, his love, and his sanity. He rolled over and pulled the blanket up to his chin. He knew Megan was locked away, but in the silence of the house, he could still feel the weight of a gaze, watching him from the shadows, waiting for him to close his eyes.